Hello, everybody. My name is Roberta Stern, and I'm a member of a group called Before Enlisting, which is dedicated to helping young people get the full picture about the realities of military service. I am a psychotherapist, and I've worked a lot with people who have trauma. So today I'm going to talk to you about PTSD and the military. You've probably all heard about PTSD, which stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. Essentially, this is a physical, emotional, and mental condition that occurs after a traumatic event like war, an assault, a difficult childhood, or a natural disaster, to name a few. Refugees or asylum seekers, for instance, often develop PTSD because of the violence they are exposed to in their country, which often causes them to flee their homeland, where they often experience even more PTSD. Of course, when you're in the military, you are more likely to develop PTSD because of the combat environment that you might be exposed to. You may experience combat firsthand, where you may cause harm or death to others. Or you may be on military missions where you are repeatedly exposed to life-threatening events. For many soldiers, PTSD is a very common life-threatening consequence of military service and can happen while you're in boot camp, on active military duty, or when you return home. How prevalent is PTSD? In terms of the war in Iraq and Afghanistan, estimates range from 11 to 20 out of every 100 soldiers develop PTSD. Soldiers in these wars are more likely to experience PTSD because they were forced to deploy into war zones multiple times. After multiple deployments, trauma reactions pile up, leading to even more severe and long-lasting PTSD reactions. What are the symptoms of PTSD? Symptoms often include intrusive memories, where images of what a soldier goes through repeats in their mind, like a movie in their head that they can't turn off. Veterans might have nightmares, flashbacks of what happened to them during military service. They may become hypervigilant, where they scan their surroundings, even at home, for anything that might seem threatening, as if they were back on patrol. Essentially, those who experience PTSD are in a chronically heightened state of fear and anxiety. When you have PTSD, it's hard to function normally, even in familiar surroundings. Other symptoms include being extremely irritable, with intense mood swings, and outbursts of rage, anger, or sadness. Sometimes this can result in violent behavior towards loved ones. Veterans might have physical symptoms such as pain, sweating, nausea, trembling, or a racing heartbeat. Or they might have a complete change in personality, where, for example, before service, they were outgoing and fun-loving. After service, they become sullen and withdrawn and seem out of it. Or the reverse. Once a mild-mannered person now becomes aggressive and hostile. Some veterans describe PTSD as having to go through another kind of war when they come home. Only this war is within themselves. There's another condition called moral injury that can cause PTSD for service members. This happens because as a soldier, your job requires you to take actions against other human beings that over time may violate your sense of right and wrong. Actions like committing or witnessing atrocities towards civilians, including women and children. This is described as an injury of conscience, meaning that what you are doing or what you witness as a soldier violates your own moral conscience. These feelings can weigh heavily on you and result in profound self-hate for what you've done or what you're associated with. These feelings of shame and guilt can burden you for the rest of your life. I know of a young man whose lifelong dream was to join the Navy SEALs. After many years of training in the SEALs, however, he became aware that all he was doing was being trained to be a killing machine and to see everyone as his enemy. This was contrary to his reasons for signing up for the SEALs, which he considered a noble way to serve your country. Eventually, he dropped out. He became very depressed because he'd lost his lifelong dream of what he'd want to do in life. He started using drugs and became suicidal. He survived because his family intervened and insisted he get help. Slowly, he was able to find a new purpose in life. Veterans with PTSD are at a higher risk of developing problems with alcohol, especially if they have trouble reaching out for help. They use alcohol to self-medicate, to numb or escape their PTSD feelings. Unfortunately, alcohol adds to their risk of developing serious depression, since alcohol is in and of itself a depressant. Ultimately, this increases their risk of harming themselves or harming others. One of the very real consequences of PTSD for veterans is homelessness. It's estimated that 1 out of 3 homeless men who are sleeping in a doorway or an alley is a veteran. Another shocking fact is that approximately 75% of homeless female veterans have been sexually assaulted while in the military. The most extreme consequence of PTSD, of course, is suicide. Unbelievably, it's estimated that there are between 17 to 20 suicides a day committed by veterans. That's a staggering number, with the highest suicide rates being among the young, ages 18 to 34. For generations, people with PTSD were looked down upon in the military, even stigmatized, because in the military you are expected to be tough. No one wants to reach out for help because that would mean that you are weak, or in military lingo, a pussy. This produces disastrous results. It leads to veterans committing suicide or taking out their PTSD symptoms on their wives and loved ones, or potentially causing harm to others in the community. People with PTSD are often seen as either pathetic or mad dogs by the military. These labels are damaging and shows the lack of understanding of PTSD. Military recruiters are not likely to talk to you about the very real possibility of developing PTSD, nor do they inform you about how this kind of trauma can take over your life, especially if it's not treated. The fact is that there are lots of effective treatment opportunities available for PTSD, but you need to get help as soon as possible. I strongly encourage you to get more information online about PTSD and the military. And I thank you for listening.